My name is Tim Sparapani. I am from the Application Developers Alliance. We are so thrilled that you came out tonight. Enjoy the open bar, and I hope you will continue to go ahead and enjoy the open bar. And have come to have a conversation about privacy in the app space. The Application Developers Alliance is a trade association which is all of 5 months old as of 2 days ago. We were created essentially to give voice to the developer community and to bring some cohesion to an industry which is growing so fast that it's hard to even get our arms around it as an entity. By some estimates, we're talking about 1 to 2 million people already in the United States who are making their living by building great products and great services for consumers and businesses. And that's immensely exciting. And it's out of the excitement and enthusiasm that the app industry is creating that this event was born. And we have decided, as a trade association, that it was important to have a conversation about privacy. So let me tell you a little bit about the Application Developers Alliance, and then I'll come back and talk about the event and kick things off. This organization was started by two people, John Potter, who's our president, who's not here tonight. He was at our kickoff event in Austin last night. We had about 80, 150, Jake, give me a number.
88 signups and 50 some odd attendees.
Right, but we had a great conversation in Austin last night. We are doing another 8 cities, I think this summer around the country. So thank you for being our second event. First in our hearts, but our second event. And the goal here is quite simply to talk to the people who are building these great products and services and have a conversation about what it is you're seeing, what it is you're experiencing, how you're thinking about data, how you're thinking about the information you're gathering from consumers. The Application Developers Alliance is designed to be your voice, your advocate, your collective wisdom, and to be able to advocate on your behalf so that you can go out and build those great businesses. And just since January 3rd when we launched, we've had an amazing response to the formation of this organization. We have well over 75 corporate members of all sizes, platforms, carriers, but mostly developer shops, and folks who work in the app ecosystem all through the vertical stack. We have 6,300 individual developers who have joined us in just 5 months. It's an astounding response. So if you want to have impact at scale, which I know a lot of you do, and that's how your businesses think, this is the place, because this is where the conversations are taking place. So I'm immensely excited to be here. Let me tell you just a little bit about my background and what I do at the Application Developers Alliance, and I want to point out the 2 other people who are here from the Alliance. One is Jake Ward, one of our 2 founders. Jake has been instrumental in getting us started and was one of the 2 people who got us up and running. Laura Bullis, Laura, wave. Laura's our membership person. A lot of people have talked to Laura. She's the one who's going to harangue you into joining if you haven't told her. Quite simply, we are trying to create community, not just here in Santa Monica, but across the country, about people who are doing what you do every day, so that you can have an instant place to go and find other engineers where you need more talent, to have a conversation and to get information that you would normally have to pay for, but this time you're going to get essentially for low cost or free just by being a member of the association. That's the goal. And we're really excited that you're all here tonight. I could talk on and on and on. I'll tell you just a little bit about why I'm here. Before I came to the Application Developers Alliance, I was the first director of public policy for Facebook. And I was the first hire worldwide for the company, and spent essentially 3 years thinking through a lot of the questions that a bigger company can think through, right? How to deal with data. What's the government going to do? How are the lawyers going to zap my engineers? How do I prevent that from happening? How do I get the engineers to do things the right way so that they don't get in trouble and they can produce amazing technologies and not get stub their toes? That's the kind of stuff that I did every day, and so I'm bringing that energy with me here to the Application Developers Alliance. So I'm going to be doing policy and law for the association. I'm just so excited you're all here. I'll stop talking now. I want to turn it over to one of our hosts tonight, Josh, who is very graciously offered to host. I want to thank the other hosts for being here. I know Philippe from CBS Interactive is here. I don't know if anyone else. Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Metal Mobile.
Yeah, Metal Mobile. Thank you so much for hosting.
Mobile Deluxe.
And Mobile Deluxe. And Josh is going to get us started.
And
Goal here tonight.
Floating around here somewhere.
Yeah. Goal here tonight: interactive conversation. This is the longest speech I hope you'll hear the whole evening. And I'll stop.
All right, thanks, Tim. How's that? All right, thanks everybody for coming to Santa Monica as well. I know there's a lot of events going on tonight with E3 in town, and so thanks for making it out here by the beach, and thanks to the Fairmont for having us. So yeah, part of your registration tonight, it grants you admission into the Application Developers Alliance if you weren't already. So, so welcome to the ranks as well. And I'd like to start off by having our panelists tonight go ahead and introduce themselves. So Tim, thanks for your introduction already. And Pam, if you want to kick us off, that'd be great.
Okay. So I'm Pam Dixon. I'm Executive Director of the World Privacy Forum. We're a nonprofit public interest research group, and we're based in San Diego. We work all over the world. We are focused on the parts of privacy that really matter. So we're not so worried about cookies. We're really concerned about humans and what happens to people. So I am absolutely delighted to be here this evening to talk with you, and I believe that I'll learn more than actually anything else. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and I appreciate this opportunity. Just so you know some of our structure, we're a small nonprofit. We do, I have to admit, really awesome work. We're one of the very few nonprofits that actually produces substantive research that's factually based. And we get our support from largely individuals who really care about our work. And I want to pass it on to you now.
Sure. Everyone hear me?
I can.
My name is Ilan Goldman. I'm Chief Legal Officer and Head of Safety, Security, and Privacy for Gogii, the makers of Text Plus. Text Plus is I was told it was a communications destination, but what it really is an application that opens up communication to everybody. It opens up, based off of initially text messaging, it brings text messaging and voice. It breaks off text messaging voice from the traditional wireless carriers and allows people with even non-telephonic devices like an iPod Touch or an iPad to send and receive text messages, to make phone calls, generally for free. It allows our users to communicate from all over the world. We like to think of ourselves as a borderless carrier. We have, we're right now focused on North America, but we're opening up our product across the world. It keeps people connected. It enables conversations, which I'm glad to be here to have this conversation. Privacy is very important to us. Safety and security is also important to us, so I'm happy to discuss all those issues together, and I look forward to your questions and communicating with you as well.
My name is Rich Chu. I'm head of BD and mobile for TRUSTe. As probably many of you guys know, that TRUSTe is a service provider, solution provider for privacy. We are being around for over 12 years. Sort of started as a non-profit organization, become a private company in 2008. Provide the privacy service actually over 5,000 business and brand. Most recently, we launched a new mobile product for privacy actually at EdTech a few weeks back. And really excited to be here, sort of expand the privacy service much needed to mobile space, because the importance, critical sort of factors impact mobile is actually even more compared to online. So I'd love to chat about that and what sort of solution around in the marketplace, particularly what kind of sort of product service we can provide to really help company and consumer address the privacy concern, notice choice, preference management in the mobile space. So I'd love to have that conversation.
All right, thanks everybody. All right, and then for the audience, how many people work for an app developer that's fewer than 10 people? Okay. And then how many people are developing apps for iOS? How about that? And then how many people just for Android, just by itself? So is everybody developing cross-platform then?
Nobody tell Google.
All right, that's why you guys aren't at the Google event tonight. All right, that's great. Okay, so let's see. The first thing that I'd like to talk about, and Pam, you kind of started us off down this road, is what does privacy mean in 2012 with respect to apps in particular. Go for it.
Okay, so let me just back up just a teeny bit and give a little bit of a bird's eye view. So I want to actually talk about India. So we're involved in a 3-year project in India, and what we're doing over there is we're going over and we're studying the UID project there. If you're not familiar with that project, it is the modern day building of the Great Pyramids of Egypt. It's extraordinary. What they're doing is they're iris scanning literally every citizen of India as part of their census. So far they have, I believe, 600 million people in the rolls, and they're going to continue. And what they're doing is they are building the world's largest transactional database tied to a person's unique national identifier. So if you think about this grand database, this is big data on absolute steroids. I mean, the database, think about it. You could solve so many problems with this database. You could build better mousetraps, better pills. You could build better population studies. You could build, I mean, you guys are engineers and developers. You know what can be done with this database for human good. I do too. I'm a researcher. I dig it. I like it. But here's the deal. Right now, there is not a specific law or set of policies that controls the transactional end of that database. So every financial and social services transaction that's made by the citizens is going to be recorded in this transactional database. So the ability for mischief to occur is profound. You've got corruption, you've got law enforcement access, you've got governmental controls. India is a place where there is definitely some censorship of certain items on the internet, and there's a court case that allows that now. So I'm all for getting some data and using it, but I think we here have the opportunity to do something too. We're building our own Great Pyramid right now, and we have the opportunity to look at these policies, put them in place, and make sure that the data that's running through the apps and through the mobile marketplace and the mobile world is used for the right reasons, and we can build these policies in from the ground up. Now, I'm going to India in a month to continue work on this database project. It really matters. And I think that what's really important in this conversation in Privacy 2012 is to focus on the things that actually really matter. I really don't care if I see an advertisement. I just don't. But I really do care if there's law enforcement access or some kind of nefarious access to a whole bunch of data about me that's been collected over time that might be used inappropriately. So let's focus on what really counts.
So Ilan, you are helping build the Great Pyramid here in the U.S. with Text Plus. So what are you guys using data for, in particular, that you're collecting from consumers?
I mean, most data that we collect from consumers is completely voluntary. So data may be collected on registration. So some information is required of us to be collected, for instance, a birth date. There are, people may know about COPPA, which is a law that requires companies like us to either get permission from a parent or not have users under the age of 13. So as part of complying with that law, we need to ask for a birth date. That's a simple legal requirement. If you go onto any social website, you're going to notice you have to enter your birth date as part of registration. That's one piece of information that's required. We ask for a name. We ask for an email address. And that's pretty much it. Some information you can voluntarily give to us. I should explain that Text Plus is both a communications platform and can also be used as a social platform. So you can use Text Plus to send text messages to your friends, to call your parents. You can also use it to meet other people, the same way you might use other online social experiences. As part of creating a user profile, you might be, you can provide your gender, you might provide a location. None of this stuff is verified, it's user provided. We give users control over how much of that information is made public. So I think by giving users choice, giving users control over how much of their information is publicly displayed, we're doing the right thing. We've been doing this since the beginning. To Pam's point on law enforcement, one thing that people need to understand about our product and other social products in particular, and communications platforms, is that these platforms can be abused. You can use, most people wouldn't think about using their personal phone, their personal cell phone with all the information that they provide to their wireless carrier and threatening to blow up the White House or threatening to set a fire here in Santa Monica, because they know that the information, that there's information on their phone that's being tied at their wireless carrier. When we provide a communications platform through the traditional mobile platforms, iOS, Android, we're not collecting a lot of information on registration. And so there is certain information that we have in the past collected for safety and security purposes. So if you do lie to us and provide us with faulty information on registration, we might have a UDID, which is tied to information at a platform level, which might be used if there was a security or safety reason. And privacy really has to be, Pam and I had this discussion earlier, we may disagree on this, but privacy and safety and security really are two ends of a seesaw. And right now it seems like people are really concerned about user privacy and how their information may be used and collected and shared. And those are really three different things. Specifically with law enforcement, because we're a communications platform, law enforcement has to jump through hoops in order to get information from us. We require them to jump through those hoops. It may be a subpoena, it may be a search warrant. It depends on what they're doing, it depends what they're looking for. But I was talking to Pam about this earlier. We may have a user who's in one of our public chat rooms who says they're going to commit suicide. We may want to help that person find help. We may want to get that person help through the police. If we can't identify that person one way or the other as a communications platform, that may be a disservice to that person. So we're constantly weighing weighing privacy versus security and safety and striking the right balance. It may be different for a mobile game. It really depends on what your product does and how much information you're collecting. And we should probably talk about what you're collecting and then what you're sharing and with whom and how that may be monetized. I'm sure that'll be part of this discussion.
Well, Rich, do you see the same seesaw between privacy on one side and security and safety on the other?
I do. Obviously, it depends on definition, what sort of business you are in, and I think people's interpretation, security, privacy will be a little bit different. And I think in the overall sort of, I guess for the relevance of conversation tonight, I assume most discussion will be around mobile as a media. When you provide media, provide content, engage audience, and how you're actually thinking about monetization, targeting, advertising around that, right? So it sort of relates to, you just talked about in terms of data connection, in terms of targeting, how you actually do that sort of in a privacy-friendly manner. And I think that privacy means a number of things. One, first, that you need to actually have a privacy policy, right? Make that upfront, building trust, because a lot of times you have to have the trust between the brand advertiser to the end user, right? Between the service provider, content provider to the user. I think the more upfront, the more what you tell people about the privacy policy, I think the better you can build a trust. And then further along, there's more engagement, there's actually more sort of interesting things going on. But I think it's more important around that is the privacy policy is about data, it's about information. Then it's very close, very sort of dear to each individual's sort of heart and brain, right? So essentially, the privacy policy, the privacy sort of is about sort of notice choice. You give users some notice about what are you about to do, what are you going to be doing, what kind of data you actually connect, what sort of targeting, whatever case might be, associated with the data that you connect. And you ought to give them the choice, and you ought to actually give them the preference management and help them to, for example, opt in, opt out, depends on scenario. I think that that's critical parts that essentially provide the notice choice, and that's the starting point to provide the privacy, whether it's actually online, mobile. Obviously, mobile is very important, and a lot of sort of mechanics process how you actually do that, deliver that sort of user experience, and I feel that that's part of probably relevant conversation we all can have here, particularly from app perspective.
How is TRUSTe doing like the transition between the online protocols that a user accepts versus the mobile piece? Or are you differentiating in your acceptance boxes?
We do. So I assume you refer Ad Choice Online?
Yeah.
Right. So the Ad Choice Online, because it obviously sort of setting standard by DA, started last year. So the Ad Choice for mobile, it's just sort of in the early stage of that. There's a few sort of scenario based on the form factor and how you actually provide choice. At this point, so DA, MMA, several industry consulting actually working together, putting a standard together. What's the best practice to provide the sort of notice choice? There are a few different scenarios, and it depends on implementation. If it's a publisher developer driven, right? So for example, in the case of app developer, because app developer control the app environment, so there's actually a few different ways you can do that. You know, for example, when people, you could put actually privacy policy notice choice as part of the preference, as part of sort of app setting, right? Then I think that the other things is every time there's a first ad showed up, particularly around targeting, then you give users notice choice and setting the preference from there. So there are a few sort of different scenarios. Love to, happy to talk about sort of individually and what sort of the things that you are thinking about how we provide solution working with you guys.
And Pam, I'm cheating off your notes. You want to respond to the seesaw.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, you can see that. Wow, your eyes are great. Okay.
Speaking of privacy.
All right, so I want to move forward, and here's the deal. I was working in privacy at the Denver University School of Law prior to 9/11, and we were having conversations about privacy versus security then, and then 9/11 happened, and I worked with Tim on trying to save our country from Patriot 1 and Patriot 2, and we had to do it overnight, and it was
sucked.
It was
And we lost. And you lost.
We lost.
In epic fashion. Yeah.
We lost, and
Yeah.
it happened overnight. It was awful, and it really forced me to really go back to brass tacks and think, okay, is it privacy versus security? Because that's the argument we got from members of Congress who hadn't even read the bill, who didn't know anything, and it was so frustrating. And it really made me rethink this from the inside out. And here's what I've come to. I believe, after a lot of looking at this and working through this issue, historically and in context of a lot of different technologies, if we pit privacy against security, it can be done. But what will happen is 9/11, Patriot 1 and Patriot 2. The outcome is predictable. We are in a watershed moment. And this is a question, by the way, partially. I believe we're in a watershed moment. This is a hypothesis. I think the world, this isn't your father's internet, as Jake has said. I think we're going to go toward more of a mobile web or more toward of an app world. I don't think there's going to be this old cruising the internet and whatnot. And it really changes the equation. So here's the fundamental question. This is a different internet. This is a different world. How do we rethink privacy in this world? And I propose to you that we think about privacy in a new way, where we don't polarize privacy and security. There's got to be a better way, and I think there is a better way. And the approach that I've come up with is more of an ecological view, one that views privacy as attached to people and over time and looking at what's important. Security is always going to be an aspect of privacy, but the actual principles are going to stay the same even when technology changes. So a radio button here or there, or are we browser cache cookies, or are we tracking with some kind of unique ID? All that's going to shift. What's important is what information are we gathering from people? How are we going to use it? And are we selling it or using it in ways that hurt them? If we can get a handle on those and then implement that in practical ways that will change over time, we're really doing well.